Good morning. I don't know why, but 4 o'clock felt early, early today. But we're here. We did it. Let's see. Got our normal things we need to do. Don't have to update the members. What's up, Amy? What's up, Gun? What's up, Wilo Gamer Pro 199? Good to see you guys. Good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing? HHH, how are you? What's up? Nothing, man. 4 o'clock felt a little early this morning to me. So we're gonna pound some caffeine and some fluids, and we're gonna try to get after it. Stuck with a dilemma, what graphics card to get? Well, I'd get if it was me, I'd get the most future-proof graphics card possible. Right? So whatever my budget is, I would max that shit out and try to get the nicest, newest card I could possibly find. That would be my approach. Because I do not like to buy new technology you know what I mean? Especially expensive technology. Like whenever I upgrade my kids' technology or my technology or my wife's technology, I always go to the latest and the greatest, you know? I plan to go full time Linux, so getting a 5080 would be a bit iffy. Yeah, but if you got a 5080 and decided you don't like Linux and you want to go back to Windows, or you decide you want to have a Linux box and a Windows box, and the Windows box is going to be for gaming, you can always pull the 5080 out, right, and put it in the Windows machine. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like technology is one of those things where oftentimes trying to save yourself a penny just causes you more pain in the future, in my opinion. I mean, I understand if your budget's limited. You know what I mean? Like, I understand people have different budgets. But if your budgets can afford a 5080, like, get it. You know? But that's exciting. Shopping for a new graphics card, man. That's always the most fun. It's the most fun shopping and buying for new stuff. It's the problem is when you do it too often, and then all your money goes bye bye. I'm still in the 9070. Yeah, but I mean, if that's all you need, you know, want to make some AI stuff, yeah. Still using, yeah. The AI thing's a good excuse too. You need that dedicated hardware if you want to do local AI stuff. I know people say you can run some of these models on your CPU, but it's very slow. It's very slow. I'd be kind of interested to see what it's like to have one of those computers that has the new that has the TP the not TPU the NPU in it. For AI, I would use the RTX Quadro. What's up, Raphael? What's difference? What's the what? Why is the Quadro a better card for that particular use case? Is there something different about it? I'm on a 4080. I don't. I don't play game. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just still my my thought is always like, don't. I mean, at least in my personal life, my thought is always like, don't buy the thing for the spec. Just max out the capability. Quadro got more quad cores used with ML. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. More CUDA cores. Interesting. I didn't know that. Oops. Still working on. Oh my god! I just. I went in and out of the same directory 3 times. I see. I told you. 4 o'clock came early, which is weird because I probably went to bed earlier last night than I have ever in the last couple weeks. Maybe I woke up in the middle of like a REM cycle or something. Why does it feel like I keep sliding? Hold on one sec. Let me fix my. There we go. That's a little better. 4 a.m.'s insane. I mean, it's not insane. I mean, I think 4 a.m. I think getting up at 4 a.m. is no different than staying up till like midnight, in my opinion. It's just it's one side or the other. But some mornings it just seems earlier than others. I woke up at 9 today and I was barely able to get up. Some days are just like that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the point at which you wake up in your sleep cycle or the weather or what it is, but some days it's just like I stay up till 3 a.m. sometimes. Yeah, I've had nights like that. I'm really bad about nerd sniping myself. Like, I've actually gotten into the habit where, like, if it's 8 o'clock and I have an idea for something, I typically won't open my laptop because if I open my laptop, I know I'm not going to bed for a good 2 or 3 hours. I get like fixated on it. Which sometimes can be used for as a superpower, but other times it just really fucks you over. I used to get to bed at 7 a.m. and wake up at 5 p.m. when I had no job. Dude, that's intense. That's like you're basically nocturnal at that point, right? You go to bed at 7 a.m. and wake up at 5 p.m. That's nuts. Let's see, learn, go with tests, and we're doing the math lesson. Man, we're pretty close to being done with this. Maybe we can get through templating today. That'd be awesome. Reverse world. Just in time for dinner. Yeah, your dinner becomes your breakfast, basically. Oh, that sucks. We need to tell YouTube to get their shit together. You know what I mean? Alright, this is a lot of heady stuff that we were talking about yesterday. But now we're at the point where we're actually doing some implementation. We were talking about floating arithmetic math, which we fixed. We talked about dividing by 0. Second hand point, did we put that in our test yet? No. Alright, let's copy this guy. I'll put him up here. So this is mad because the second hand point is not defined. Func second hand point t of time Okay, go, go, go. Yeah, we're going with go. Also, when I said that, my Google devices lit up. So I wonder why YouTube gatekeeps the background listening. Yeah, I wonder what the thought process there is, you know? It's like, yeah, well, horizontal streams are okay to listen in the background, and then some asshole in the conference room in the same meeting is like, yeah, but we shouldn't let them listen to vertical ones. So stupid. Okay. So that failed. So we need to find out how we figure out where the second hand is gonna be now. And OBS is just having a day. My network's having a day. Maybe I need to restart my router today, see if that fixes some of this connection, disconnection thing I got going on. We added a new test. That's obviously going to make your test fail. All right, let's talk about the math. Okay, also recall that we want to measure the angle from 12 o'clock, which is the y-axis, instead of from the x-axis, which we would like measuring the angle between the second hand and 3 o'clock. So we're going from y over. No, we're basically treating the top of the circle as the x, right? So we've got x, we've got y, and then we've got our hypotenuse, we've got our angle. So we need to figure out xy, which is sine of a will give us the length of this. Cosine of a would give us the length from 0. We now want the equation that produces x and y. Let's write that into seconds. So math of sine is x, math of cosine of angle is y, and then we'll have our x and y. Now we get what? Oh, yep. Got a lot of precision going on there. Okay, so let's copy this. You know, it's funny. Why did they build computers and then make them so bad at math, right? Like why is floating point arithmetic an issue? Like who sat down and was like, you know what, guys? I know this is all built around math, but these things shouldn't be able to do math. Wonder if it was the mathematicians like trying to preserve their jobs. You know? They like sabotage them. Like we can't make these things are productive and good, but we can't make them be able to do what we can do. Looks like we've been cursed by the floats once more. Both of those unexpected numbers are infinitesimal, way down at the 16th decimal place. So again, we can either choose to try to increase the precision or just say that they're roughly equal and get on with our lives. So this is fine if you're Stephen Freeborn, but if you're putting a man on the moon, you probably can't be like, precision, who gives a shit about that? One option to increase the accuracy of these angles would be to use the rational type, RAT, from the Math Big package. But given the objective is to draw an SVG and not land on the moon, that's funny. I think we can live with a bit of fuzziness. Well, I don't know. I don't want my SVGs to be imprecise. You know what I mean? So he created a helper test function that says roughly equal point. And then, well, actually he created two. He created one for float 64 and one for point. And then point calls roughly equal there. Huh. And then he just set a threshold that's really small. You know what I mean? Pablo said there's a package out there that has a function like this. Something called Testify, I guess, that will do this. We'll check for this very, it'll say roughly equals, basically. Might need to check that out at some point. This lo-fi music's hopping today. Oh, and then we have to actually use those in our code. We can't just paste them in. This one. So we'll say if roughly equal point, and we'll pass in our got equals false. So we have point A and point B. So if C dot point roughly equals got, there we go. Look at us. We're not putting men on the moon, but we can draw SVGs. Life is good. Repeat for new requirements. Wool saying new isn't entirely accurate. Really, what we can do now is get that acceptance test passing. Let's remind ourselves of what it looks like. Try to run the test. So 150, wanted 150 to 90. Okay. So we just need to comment this guy out. I think both of these guys we need to comment out. Go test or uncomment them. Okay, so there's one that failed. So test second hand at 30 seconds failed. This one. So we wanted 240, but we got basically 150 minus 90. We need to do three things to convert our vector into a point on the SVG. Scale it to the length of the hand, flip it over the x-axis to account for the SVG having the origin in the top left-hand corner, and translate it to the right position so that it's coming from an origin of 150, 150. Hold on, why do we have to translate it? We have to translate it because we're basing it off the top left, and so we want to translate the starting point to the center. Is that why? Or we want to translate that starting point to the center? The scaling makes sense, but I'm not sure. Maybe I can screw with this once we get it drawing an actual SVG, then maybe we can play around with the let's see, second hand. Yeah, this one. It would probably be better to have functions, right, that clarify what all these magic numbers are doing, right? So we can have function scale that takes a P and returns a P. I mean, that might be overdoing it, but I mean, functions are, I mean, you know, they're free, so why not use them? And then here we can say P equals scale P, and then function flip P point. I think that's a good code smell too. Like if you're having to write comments next to something, then probably just need to name whatever that's being done there a little better, right? Can you write? I'm curious. Can you write things that have kind of a? I guess you can, right? You can write kind of a fluent API in Go. Because I think it would be really nice if you could do something like, hold on, lo-fi generator has completely gone off the rails. Yeah, I think it would be kind of cool to be able to say something like this: return. Also, obviously, I'm from the C# world. Second hand point, right? T, and then, or even something like this: T dot second hand point, right? Then you could say dot scale dot translate dot flip, something like that. I like a good Fluent API. Woohoo! It passed. It passed. Let's see. Yeah, I figured you could. Like, if you can have methods, right, you should be able to define receivers. Can you define receivers on types you don't control? I guess I can answer that question for myself, can't I? So like could I define a function that's like func, it has a receiver. You don't know that? So like if I did func that has a receiver named T, and this, let's call this get second hand. Does this work? We could do like this, returns a point. Cannot define new methods on non-local type. So you can't. Okay, well, fair enough. But you could definitely have something like... You could definitely have something like get, you know, this, right? And then you could have scale, flip, and translate be... Let's do it. Let's do it. We could do P point... This is the stuff I get hung up on. That's so dumb that I get hung up on it, but... Then you could do same thing with flip. And same thing with scale. Then here you could just say return. Just like I was typing earlier, you could say dot scale, dot flip, dot translate. Can you chain things like that? I guess not. Or you can, but you can't have them on new lines? Oh, you have to do this? No way. What is that ugliness? Why would they do that? You have to put the dot at the... That's ugly. No wonder no one built Fluent APIs in Go. That's hideous. It should work the same though, right? That's so dumb. Can someone explain to me why the authors of Go decided that was a good idea? Valid C# syntax too. There's even support in formatter. Yes, I know that, and that way is wrong. That way is so wrong. Because to me, the human brain thinks I'm reading, period. I'm done reading. Right? Most of us, if we're coming from the English-speaking world, a period means stop here. It does not mean continue on. Yeah, so that looks really ugly. I don't think I would build a Fluent API and go like this if I have to write it this way. So I actually think I prefer the other way. I also don't think I like the reassigning here. Like, I think I'd rather have point, scaled point, flipped point, translated point. This is probably less memory efficient. Well, I don't know, because the way he originally had it, I mean, I guess we could run a benchmark to see, but I think the way he originally had it, he was creating a new point for every P he was reassigning, right? So well, yeah, I guess you might be right because there's only ever one thing in existence in this function. I don't know. Let's test it. Let's test it. Second hand 1. Let's make his the correct way, and then we'll make mine the more memory intensive one. I mean, I'm guessing you're right? Because in my way, I'm actually creating 4 different variables, right? Each one having a struct that has been allocated at that point in time. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, it probably doesn't matter, but it is kind of an interesting thing to think about. So we just need to copy his code. I mean, this is what you do when you're learning, right? You stop and take the detours, you know? Okay, so that's his way. So then let's go and copy. Let's go to the tests and let's create, I guess, a couple benchmarks, right? So we'll go function benchmark his way. I don't remember how to write a benchmark. There's something about the way I named the test, right? Duplicate tab. Benchmark. Yeah, we just have to put benchmark and then copy. So we'll do benchmark his way. And then benchmark my way. And I think we go over here and we say benchmark. What is it? Go. It's go test. And then this, and then we pass the bench mem in there. Well, looks like, yeah, it looks like they're identical. Or mine's a little slower, maybe. But the memory seems to be about the same. Looks like mine was faster the second time. And his was faster the third time. So yeah, I think they're pretty much equivalent. Alright, what are we doing next? Let's refactor. There's a few magic numbers here that should get pulled out as constants. Let's do that. Second hand length, clock center X, clock center Y. Okay, well, I pulled mine out into no difference. Go compiler my optimize it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, right. I mean, it's interesting that there could be other magic happening that we're not aware of. Thank you, compilers. Thank you, smart people who work on compilers. They write smart code so me can write dumb code. So he pulled the magics out, so which I like. Yeah, which I like. However, the fact that, let's see, clock. I'm just gonna put mine in the function, so I'm gonna say clock center. Interesting. It added a cast to float. And then we'll call this one const second hand length equals 90. Glad I don't have to write machine code myself. Yeah, I think I would be curious to learn how to do it once. You know what I mean? Maybe once before I hang up the whole programming coding shtick. I think I would like to learn about that. But I don't think I want to spend all my days thinking about it. You know, Raphael? Yeah, you agree. Yeah. Like I don't think that's where I want to live in terms of the things I want to build, but I think it would be fascinating to spend a day or spend a week or so just going through it. You know, it would be even better if I could have somebody who is like a really good teacher who really understands compilers really well, like sit with me and try to explain. Although they might just get frustrated and be like, this guy's an idiot, he's never going to understand. We're going to stick a new directory under our main clockface package called confusingly clockface. In there, we'll put the main package that will create the binary that will build an SVG. Inside main.go, you'll start with this code, but change the import for the clockface package to point at your own version. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put it all in one file. All in one file. Let's see. Function main, or maybe I will. Maybe I will do that. Oh boy, I'm not trying to win any prizes for beautiful code with this mess, but it does the job. It's writing an SVG out to os.standardout one string at a time. If we build this and run it, sending the output into a file, we should see something like this. This stinks. Well, it doesn't quite stink, but I'm not happy about it. That whole second-hand function is super tied to being an SVG without mentioning SVGs or actually producing an SVG, while at the same time I'm not testing any of my SVG code. Yeah, I guess I screwed up. This feels wrong. Let's try to recover with a more SVG-centric test. But is this really an improvement? Not only will it still pass, if I don't produce a valid SVG, as it's only testing that a string appears in the output, but it will also fail if I make the smallest unimportant change to that string. If I add an extra space between the attributes, for instance, the biggest smell is that I'm testing a data structure, XML, by looking at its representation as a series of characters, as a string. This is never ever a good idea, as it produces problems just like the ones I outlined above. A test that's both too fragile and not sensitive enough. A test that's testing the wrong thing. So the only solution is to test the output as XML, and to do that we'll need to parse it. Encoding XML is the Go package that can handle all things to do with simple XML parsing. Well, that's nice. They give you a built-in XML parsing. The function xml.unmarshal takes an array of bytes of XML data and a pointer to a struct for it to get unmarshaled into. Huh. So we'll need a struct to unmarshal our XML into. We could spend some time working out what the correct names for all the nodes and attributes and how to write the correct structure, but happily someone has written Zec, a program that will automate all of that hard work for us. Interesting. So they give you a package to obviously parse the XML, but they don't give you like a built-in way to put the XML into a struct. Huh. So we have to actually figure out what that is. That's kind of painful. We could make adjustments to this if we needed to, but it's definitely good enough to start us off. Paste the struct into the clockface acceptance test file, and let's write a test with it. Oh, now we're creating an SVG writer function. The most beautiful SVG writer. No, but hopefully it'll do the job. Hey, what's up, Arrow? How are you? Gun, very nice to see such progress. I know, right? We're actually being productive today. Good to see you, Arrow. Hope you're doing well, man. Oops, the %f format directive is printing our coordinates to the default level of precision, 6 decimal places. We should be explicit as to what level of precision we're expecting for the coordinates. Let's say 3 decimal. So how do you specify that? Percent period 3f. See, I'm going to have to spend some time with formatted strings in Go because I don't know, how do people remember all the different ways you can print stuff? Doing great. How about yourself? I'm doing well. Yeah, we're trying to get through the last couple lessons in Go. Or the last couple lessons in this Go thing. So we're almost there. We're at almost the point where we can read a file, which is kind of important because you do a lot of parsing from files in where are we? I lost my place. I hate that when I open that stupid menu, it loses my place every time. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to take this struct and I need to put it over here somewhere. And then I need to create this test. How do you not forget earlier learnings from the other day? Well, if you were here earlier, you would have seen I had already forgotten to write a benchmark. So I had to go back and look and see how do you write a benchmark. So I definitely forget things. I definitely forget things. I mean, it's just not feasible, right? To like hold yourself to that sort of a standard. Like you're gonna forget stuff. That's why we have documentation. You know what I mean? I'm sure some people are better at recalling things than I am, but Where did he get SVG start and SVG end? I think there's a problem in this code, huh? Oh. I'm an idiot. It's like, what? And then he modified his second hand. Where he added this second hand. Okay, and now I wish I would have had this. Now I wish I would have made the constants like he made them. So we need the length here. Or no, we can just do the, we can just scale it, right? Yeah, I mean, we can just call this these other functions that we have. So we can say, there's some duplicated code here because I'm copying and pasting stuff, but it's fine. It's fine. Famous last words. It's fine. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. Flip P. Translate P. And then we need to change this to be, what was it? Percent 3F, like that. And after we update our expectations in the test. $150 and $60, and he wanted me to update him to what? Oh, 3 decimal points. See if this works. Yeah, it works. Let's go. Have you seen within TIOBE index that C# has chance to surpass Java for the first time in history of those languages? C# is climbing. Wow, I did not know that. What is the TIOBE index? Oh, this is going to be a side quest because I've never heard of that. But that's awesome. I mean, I'm a huge, like, I would love C# to grow in popularity. Oh, wow. Yeah, big change. 2.67%. This is a cool website. Wow, it was Language of the Year in 2023. It's crazy to me. Python is still at the top. Okay, somebody in chat, explain to me this. Why Python? Is it just you don't like semicolons and braces? What's the... I mean, why? Is it because of AI? Is it... Wow, Java's up there at 4th? Why is C so high? Like, these two don't make sense. Easy to learn and write and understand. Performance is terrible, though. It's definitely AI. Yeah, like, this doesn't make... These are, like, opposite ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? And yet they're 1 and 2. You would think if you would think if a lot of people like easy to learn and easy to write languages like Python, you would think other languages like that would move up to the, that would be how this thing would. You wouldn't think C would be second, in my opinion. It's kind of interesting. I didn't know this existed. Gun, thanks for pointing me at this. Tiobe. I don't know how to say that. Wow, look at Python too. Yeah, it must be the AI hype. Damn. Look at it from 2024 to where we are today. What about C Sharp? What's that look like? C Sharp's been relatively flat, man. Same with JavaScript. That's wild. I would not have guessed these two lines would have similar. It's interesting. Not most of these programming languages have no growth in their ratings. Like for the most part, they're all flat, except for Python. I mean, Perl's kind of on a downward trajectory. What's this one? Java. Oh, Java. Okay, so Java is the only one that actually has a downward trajectory, really, like a very steep, noticeable one. Maybe C too, C and Java, and then Python's just like. I love charts like this. All right, back to Go. Three things stick out. We're not really testing for all the information we need to ensure is present. What about the XY values, for instance? Also, there's attributes for XY that aren't really strings, are they? They're numbers. Do I really care about the style of the hand, or for that matter, the empty text node that's been generated by Zach? We can do better. Let's make a few adjustments to the SVG struct and the test to sharpen everything. Okay. Just added some more data structures. We cleaned up the existing data structure. We also like unnested them, which I think is a good choice. Made the important parts of the struct name types. I like that. Turn the numeric attributes into float64. Deleted unused attributes like style and text. Renamed SVG to SVG because it's the right thing to do. This will let us assert more precisely on the line we're looking for. Okay. Finally, we can take a leaf out of the unit tests table and we can write a helper function contains line to really make these tests shine. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about some of his refactoring. I don't know about. Like, I feel like a little bit like we're a little bit moving code around just because it pleases us. I mean, if you actually do use this logic more than once, okay, but we're just using it in a single test right now, so I'm not sure why. Let's go. Making progress, making progress. So that's the second hand done. Now let's get started on the minute hand. Jeez, we're just now getting done with the second hand. There's definitely a part of me that just wants to skip. Tests should be readable, so we're factoring things into functions even when only used once can be a benefit. That's valid. I can fuck with that. Yeah, for sure. We'd better start building some other clock hands, much in the same way as we produced the test for the second hand. We can iterate to produce the following set of tests. Again, we'll comment out our accepted tests while we get this working. We don't have a minutes to radian functions yet, so we need to we need to define one. So we'll say function minutes to radians. Takes t, returns float. Okay. What we want to do is move a tiny little bit every second. How much is that tiny little bit? Well, 60 seconds in a minute, 30 minutes and a half turn of the circle. So 30 times 60 seconds and a half turn. And if the same time is 7 seconds past the hour, we're expecting to see the minute hand at 7 times math.pi divided by 30 times 60 radians past the 12. Write enough code to make this pass. Okay. Let's see. We're going to copy this test set of tests. And we're going to come over here. Is this the same thing I just copied from earlier? That's confusing. Oh, he added a new test case. That's why. Same test, but just with a new test case. So we implement our calculation. Again, I don't think this is the right lesson for someone learning how to program though. There's too much math. It would scare. I think this would scare a lot of people off who'd want to be like basic, web dev people. Especially if you're early on in your journey and you think that you have to be good at you have to be good at math to be good at programming. Rather than working out how far to push the minute hand around the clock face for every second from scratch, here we can just leverage the seconds in radians function. For every second, the minute hand will move 160th of the angle the second hand moves. Then we just add on the movement for the minutes, similar to the movement of the second hand. Nice and easy. This is what things look like now. Repeat for new requirements. Should I add more cases to the minutes and radians tests? At the moment, there are only 2. How many cases do I need before I move on to testing the minute hand function? One of my favorite TDD quotes, often attributed to Kent Beck, is write tests until fear is transformed into boredom. I like that. That's a good one. I've never heard that before. Write tests until fear. Do any of you write code in fear? I don't know if I would call it fear, but there's definitely uneasiness at times. I'm gonna stick that. I have a few good quotes that have come out of reading this book. And frankly, I'm bored of testing that function. I'm confident I know how it works, so it's on to the next one. It's funny how much of computer programming sometimes comes down to touchy-feely things, though, right? Because what he basically just said was, it's a gut thing. How do you know you've written enough tests? I don't know. Check your gut. Okay, so we need My wife just texted me. Okay, we have new requirements. I have started skipping some of his pedanticness. Okay, a quick copy and paste of the second hand point function with some minor changes ought to do it. So we do minutes in radians, math.sine, math.cosine, then return xy. So the only thing that's different here than our second hand point is just we're calculating the minutes in radians versus the seconds in radians. So, yeah, there we go. Man, I can never remember how to switch between my buffers. Expected to find the minute hand in the SVG lines. Well, we're not going to find it because we haven't started writing it to the minute hand yet. We definitely got a bit of repetition in the second hand point and the minute hand point and the second hand point. I know because we just copy and pasted one to make the other. Let's dry it out with the function. I'm okay with not drying it out. It's fine. Now we can uncomment the acceptance test and get work drawing the minute hand. The minute hand function is a copy and paste of second hand with some minor adjustments, such as declaring a minute hand length. Yeah. And a call to it in our SVG writer. Okay. So this is back where we can use this is our scale, and this is our flip, and this is our translate. Which we could probably dry up this too, right? We could have like a process point function. Is that the right order though? Scale, flip, translate? Scale, flip, translate, yep. And then we call it in the SVG writer. What's up, Boris? Good to see you, man. Morning to you as well. Okay, we're still not finding the SVG lines. Let's remove the duplication from the second hand and minute hand functions, putting all of that scale, translate, and flip logic in one place. Yep, we just talked about that. Okay, which test? SVG writer, minute hand. Okay, so let's... What have I done wrong? It should not be failing. Let me explain why top 5 within TOB index are top 5. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I hope your meeting was good. Go for it. I'm interested to hear your take. While I figure out how I broke this test. Yes, this is our acceptance test. So why... Everything's right except for the Y2. Yeah, so is my length? I wonder if my length is off. Yeah, minute hand length is 80. That's why. So we actually need to... We can't just reuse those same functions. Or at least we'd need to parameterize them if we were going to reuse them. And now I'm at the point of this lesson where I'm like, I just want to be done. So this is going to be 80. And this will be 80. And this is going to be 150. Oops. 150. And 50 like this. Go test. There we go. Simple enough. Alright, what do you got to think? Has anyone read Code by Charles Petzold? I have not read it. Is it good? Alright. Python. Of course. It is a must for top 1. It's not new. It has been with us since the 90s. It's easy to learn. The syntax is very easy and have big community. It's mostly used for academic purposes. That comes for AI, ML, a lot of math, statistics, weather indexes, weather models, overall easy to integrate. A lot of MATLAB, R, bachelor's math, yeah, migrate. It isn't perfect, of course, but thanks to its easy to use and multi-platform ability, it is number 1. Yeah, that goes back to that whole idea that Python probably from a coding perspective is more about helping people whose primary job isn't necessarily software engineering do their work, right? I would think a lot of people who use Python every day don't care about being exceptionally great software engineers. They care about being exceptionally good statisticians or mathematicians or, like you said, weather researchers or whatever, right? And so but Python is the thing that helps them do that with the least fuss. So yeah, I totally follow your logic there. Boris, it's very good. He's got a ton of Microsoft published books, but they're pretty outdated. What's his name? Charles Petzold? I'll have to add that. Charles Petzold. My ever-growing list of things to... He's an American programmer and technical author on Microsoft Windows applications. Huh. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Did you read Domain Driven Design by Eric Evans? I have not read Domain Driven Designs. I would like to, though. It's 100% the best book, so I recommend. Yeah, for sure. I would definitely check it out. I've taken a domain-driven design course through Pluralsight, but I've never actually read the book, which I guess is the prime. I'm assuming is the primary source. Let's see. C. It must be top two. It's the main engine for every technology that comes for embedded server handling. Every low-level things OS are written with it. Yeah, but I guess why would I don't understand why software engineers rate both languages so high. Because it just seems like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. You would think if you're rating something, you're using the same criteria to rate it. It explains the philosophy very well. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Domain-driven design. Eric Evans. Now, just the hour hand to do. Oh my gosh, I've literally just started throwing code into files because I just want to move on from this whole math thing. C is very near to assembly. That's why it is a must. It's got to go fast. So what's that index then based on? Like, is it based on programmer preference, or like what's the percent rating that's being measured on that index? Like, what does that reflect? I love C. I've never written any C, so I'll have to take everyone's word for it. All right, we gotta do hours and radians. Func hours in radians. This takes whatever this takes up here. We need to take a T. We need to return a float. For now, we'll just return 0. The ratings are based on the number of skilled engineers worldwide, courses, and third-party vendors. Popular websites, Google, Amazon, Wikipedia, Bing, and more than 20 others are used to calculate the ratings. It is important to note that the TIOB index is not about the best programming language or the language in which most lines of code have been written. So what's it about then? I don't understand. What's it rating? The ratings are based on the number of... So is the number of engineers that are working with that language? Is that what it's based on? C#.net, it's the GOAT. It will dominate the world. I don't know. I want it to, but they got to do a better job of moving C# and .net away from Windows, because I still get comments about .net being a Windows only thing. Rust has been running reckless on the core util. Yeah, it's not. That's the thing. It's not a Windows only thing, but like people are still. That is for whatever reason in the developer ecosystem that is stuck in people's mind. They're stuck that like .NET is coupled to Windows and that's where it lives. I think it's a really good move by the Aspire team. The Aspire team was like, you know what? We're just going to drop the .NET. We're going to be our own thing, which I think is smart because if they want to be something that is used by polyglots, if they want to be used in all the different developer ecosystems, they should drop any legacy branding that will hold them back. I think that was a smart idea. Kind of dislike C#, but that might just be PTSD from not having Nullable and a million line code base. That will cause, yes, that will do that. I keep advocating for turning on nullability checks at work, but nobody listens. They don't. It's not that they don't listen. It's just they know it's going to cause a lot of pain because they're going to have to address it. But my thing is like, just turn it on one project at a time. You know. If someone tells that C# is Windows only, they stayed behind. Yeah. Well, a lot of people stayed behind. You know, a lot of people just never came back. They got put off by the early days of .NET and C#, or they were there when the massacre occurred from migrating from framework to core, or even from core 2.0 to core 3.0, and they just they wrote it off. You know, they've never circled back. Yeah, the open source is a good move. Windows could definitely do with some love. I would agree, Boris. Harsh couldn't catch the .NET conf stream. That's all right. Yeah, man, it's okay. You're here now. Raphael, even one file at a time. Yeah, I would agree with that. But yes, I think turning on nullability is like probably the single biggest win in a legacy C# code base. .NET format takes a year to run. It can be slow, can't it? All right, I'm gonna go refill my coffee cup and then come back and finish this. I don't think we have we just have to implement this last hand and then we're good. I just hate, I'm kind of I would say this guy's a little bit, at least this guy's writing has a little bit of TDD zealotry in it. I'm gonna refill my coffee cup though. This is a must. Split pane up. Let's see, BRB. BRB. We gotta go over here. All right, you're back. It's always C behind. What? I guess my son, I think my son might have the flu. I gotta take him to the doctor today at some point. Or my oldest son. I hate this time of year, you know, all the sicknesses come out of the woodwork. Alright. Let's put the go bed to math. Let's put the go math to bed. Alright. We need to implement the hour hand. So we'll copy this guy. Oh no, I already did that. We're now implementing the hours in radians. Hours in radians. Math.pi. Nope, that's not how you calculate that. We already know that's wrong. So we're gonna do it right. So we definitely should have one that's failing. And that's the SVG writer. We know that one's going to fail because we haven't actually gotten that far. But our radians all passed, which is good. So we're going to add some new requirements. Whoops. Let's see, we got the funky. Oh, yep. That's not gonna work. We need to mod it by 12. This is not a 24-hour clock. We have to use the remainder operator to get the remainder of the current hour divided by 12. So we basically need to say, hey, what number in what set of 12 is this? Since this is not a 24-hour clock. Man, this example must have took a lot of time to build and to write. I was at -2 still waiting for you to return from coffee. Yeah, I'm back. No worries at all. Bro, I love fall, but I'm in Miami, so it's probably different. Here's the best time of year. Oh, you're lucky, man. No, it's everyone's sick season up here. Hey, Renee, good to see you. Thanks for being a member, Renee. Appreciate having you here. Okay, we're back to just the writer failing, which is what we want. Now we need to test. Now let's try to move the hour hand around the clock face based on the minutes and the seconds that have passed. So this is a new case. Test, where we test hours. Man, look at all this code I've just dumped into this file. This is so ugly. Test hours in radians. Okay, that failed. So why did it fail? We moved it around the clock. Again, a bit of thinking is now required. We need to move the hour hand along a little bit for both the minutes and the seconds. Luckily, we have an angle already to hand for the minutes and the seconds. The one returned by minutes and radians. We can reuse it. So the only question is by what factor to reduce the size of that angle. 1 full turn is 1 hour for the minute hand, but for the hour hand, it's 12 hours. So we just divide the angle returned by minutes and radians. So why do we do that? Because 1 full turn for the minute hand, 1 full turn is 1 hour for the minute hand, but 1 full turn for the hour hand is 12 hours. I think I understand. I think to really understand though, I'd have to print an SVG at different, you know what I mean? I think I'd really understand. I'd probably need a visualization. But I'll take his word. I'll take his word for it. I'll take his word for it. That doesn't look like it fixed our problem. Oh no, it did. It's just we're off by a little bit. So we need to adjust our test to check for roughly roughly equals float 64 is what we need now. Yep. We're off by just a little bit. We need to say roughly is c dot angle and got equals false. So if they're not roughly equal, then we're upset. But if they are roughly equal, we're fine. Yep, so we're back to everything passing. I'm not going to redo the refactor. I don't care at this point. No, now it's time to calculate where the hour hand point is going to go by working out the unit vector. So we're testing where the point is. So each of these tests, each of this iteration follows the same pattern. We figure out how to calculate the right number of radians, or calculate the right angle. Then we figure out how to use that calculation to produce the right points for that hand, and then we draw it. That's the iterative loop that he's forcing us to follow. Will I ever figure out how to switch buffers correctly? Tune in next time. Also, guys, don't forget, if you like the stream, you write bug-free code for life. That's one of the benefits. Affair BOE. That's why we clash for games like that. That's why we clash. Dude, are you just spamming the chat? What is happening? Radians go counterclockwise? I don't think it... I think radians just is another way to measure the size of the angle. It's just another unit of measure. I agree with Boris. Open square bracket, closed square bracket struct is off. It should be the other way around. Totally agree with you. Bug-free code for life if you watch the stream. Yeah, that's... Somebody came up with that. I don't know who came up with that. I think it was Sogo Hotel, who's in the chat sometimes. I think he was the one that came up with that slogan. Bug-free code if you like and watch. Like and subscribe for bug-free code. What the hell is affair on? He's high or something? Yeah, I have no idea. This is the riffraff I've been trying to keep out of the chat. Gun. Bug-free code is not a good sign. What? I thought that's what we were all working towards, is bug-free code. I thought that was the whole reason we live. If not for bug-free code, then for what, Gun? For what? Yeah, Raphael, that's like what's the have you got what is it Wedding Crashers, or there's some movie with Vince Vaughn in it that's like what's the what's the safest way to have sex? Well, just don't have sex. What's the safest way to write bug-free code? Just don't write code. Renee, I live for debugging. Debugging is fun? Question mark? On the unit circle, the angle measurement goes counterclockwise on the x-axis. So 90 degrees put, or pi 2 is 12 o'clock. Is it? I don't want to lose my place. Hold on. Yeah, but I don't think radians has anything to do with the direction. Like meaning like radians, the unit is just another way to specify the size of the angle or the angle itself. Right? It doesn't really carry with it any relation to how it's oriented in this grid. So we're getting this angle here is the one we care about. Hey, what's up, I Love Lamp? Good to see you, man. Thanks for being a member. Yeah, you have to, and the whole reason we have to use radians instead of an angle is because sine and cosine expect radian values. They don't expect angle values. Okay, hour hand point. Wait, I'm going to write 2 test cases at once. Isn't this bad, TDD? I've already committed a sin. Test-driven development is not a religion. Some people might act like it is, usually people who don't do TDD but are happy to moan on Twitter or dev.to. That's only done by zealots and that they're being pragmatic when they don't write tests. But it's not a religion, it's a tool. I know what the 2 tests are going to be. I've tested 2 other clock hands in exactly the same way, and I already know what my implementation is going to be. I wrote a function for the general case of changing an angle into a point in the minute hand iteration. I'm not going to plow through TDD ceremony for the sake of it. Although I'll just admit, doesn't it feel like that's what this whole lesson has been, or this whole book has been at times? TDD is a technique that helps me understand the code I'm writing and the code that I'm going to write better. Although, to be fair with him, he's trying to teach people, right? So he has to be kind of like, you know, TDD gives me feedback, knowledge, and insight. But if I've already got that knowledge, then I'm not going to plow through the ceremony for no reason. Neither test nor TDD are an end in themselves. My confidence. This is important. An end in themselves. Software engineers lose sight of this all the time. My confidence has increased, so I feel I can make larger strides forward. I'm going to skip a few steps because I know where I am. I know where I'm going, and I've been down this road before. But also know I'm not skipping writing the tests entirely. I'm still writing them first. They're just appearing in less granular chunks. Yeah, okay. Let's see, hour hand point. So how do we calculate the hour hand point? Well, we don't have this function angle to point because we didn't refactor it that way. but we can do this, paste it here, but instead of minutes and radians, we do hours and radians. Stop using TDD. If you're, let's see. Brick, are you just pointing to things and saying you love them? Yeah, I love that movie. It's the best movie ever. So good. Dude, fast food job for 1 year, sort out your credit record, and you're good to go. Hold on, who are you guys talking to? Am I missing some of the chat here? I might be missing some of the chat here. Oh, I love to figure out why IIS isn't hosting my C# server. IIS sucks, man. Yeah, IIS sucks. Oh, the Afro guy? Yeah. Yeah, I can't see his chat anymore. I don't know what happened. I saw his chat spamming earlier, but now it's gone for me. Hey, what's up, Suhas? How are you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, the spammer from earlier. Yeah. I don't know what that was about. That was very random. People just be liking to troll, you know? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Move on with your life. You know? That's what you're gonna do. I think I already have this test, but I'm gonna just copy and paste it again to make sure I don't. Yeah, I already have this test. Cool plus good. 1-9. How far are we in? We're almost to the end of it, man. We're drawing the final hand now of our SVG. Excuse me. And then we get to learn how to read from a file. Okay, so that's still failing. And we just need to write enough code to make it pass. Now, he has an hour hand length, which is 50. So I just need to remember to update my code to be 50. So let's update our SVG writer. SVG writer. That. We don't have the hour hand function, but we're going to make one. Actually, we should probably use his, because his SVG text might be specific. Okay. I'm going to come over here. That. But instead of doing this, we're going to copy from up here. And we're going to say, put that here. Use the hour hand point. That, and then instead of 150 or instead of 80, we're going to use 50, I believe, right? 50. Yeah, 50. I'm kind of speed running his code at the moment, so that's why my code kind of looks different than his. I think this will pass though now. Fantastic. Look at us. We're writing SVGs. We're solving trig problems. There's a few magic numbers. Yet magic numbers suck. Okay, first let's pat ourselves on the back. We've written a program that makes an SVG clock face. It works. It's great. It will only ever make one sort of clock face, but it's fine. Maybe you only want one sort of clock face. There's nothing wrong with a program that solves a specific problem and nothing else. A program and a library. But the code we've written does solve a more general set of problems to do with drawing the clock face. Because we use tests to think about each small part of the problem in isolation, and because we codified that isolation with functions, we've built a very reasonable little API for clock face calculations. We can work on this project and turn it into something more general, a library for calculating clock face angles and/or vectors. In fact, providing the library along with the program is a really good idea. It costs us nothing, while increasing the utility of our program and helping to document how it works. Ooh, The Art of Unix Programming. That sounds like a book I should have probably read. APIs should come with programs and vice versa. An API that you must write C code to use, which cannot be invoked easily from the command line, is harder to learn and use. Hold on, let me reread that. An API that you must write C code to use, which cannot be invoked easily from the command line, is harder to learn and use. And contrary-wise, it's a royal pain to have interfaces whose openly open documented form is a program, so you cannot invoke them easily from a C program. So he's basically saying you should have an API that can be called from the console or also called in a C program, is basically what he's saying. Let's see, in my final take on this program, I've made the unexported functions within ClockFace into a public API for the library, with functions to calculate the angle and unit vector for each of the clock hands. I've also split the SVG generation part into its own package, SVG, which is then used by the ClockFace program directly. Naturally, I've documented each of these functions in package. Let's take a look at his final program. Okay, so we have clockface.go. So this is okay to do. You can have a package. So you can have a package named clockface, and then within that package, you can have a directory called clockface, which is its own package. It's interesting. I'm still not sure I understand how to structure packages. Yeah, I'm still not certain I totally understand. But that's probably because I need to build some actual projects. I'm sure you noticed that the most sophisticated piece of code for handling SVGs isn't in our application code at all, it's in the test code. Should this make us feel uncomfortable? Shouldn't we do something like use a template, use an XML library, use an SVG library? We could refactor our code to do any of these things, and we can do so because it doesn't matter how we produce our SVG. What is important is what we produce, an SVG. As such, the part of our system that needs to know the most about SVGs, that needs to be the strictest about what constitutes an SVG, is the test for the SVG output. It needs to have enough context and knowledge about what an SVG is for us to be confident that we're outputting an SVG. In other words, we want the what of an SVG in our tests and the how in the code. So that way your tests don't care about the how. We may have felt odd that we were pouring a lot of time and effort into those SVG tests, importing an XML library, parsing XML, refactoring the structs, but that test code is a valuable part of our code base. See, this is such an interesting take on testing, right? He has such a different than what you hear from the average developer. Average developers are so dismissive of testing and so dismissive of the time that's invested in writing good tests. And yet in his eyes, he looks at this as a very valuable thing, right? It just comes down to an attitude. It's a perspective. Tests are not there you go. Tests are not second-class citizens, but I guarantee if you ask most developers, most programmers, they look at tests as second-class citizens, 100%. They are not throwaway code. Good tests will last a lot longer than the version of code they are testing. I love that. I love that. This could be a whole book, huh? Good tests should last longer than the code they're testing, which is true, right? Because tests should define the behavior of the system. So the behavior that unless the behavior of the system changes, the test should not really ever change. Driving development with tests. Yep, TDD. We're talking. Oh, we're talking. I hear Obsidian in the chat. Suhas, are you okay, man? That is the biggest issue I experience when unit testing. Which one's the biggest issue? The unit of the test I'm writing is so small that I often have to rewrite the test. Well, doesn't that just mean that you're testing too much of the how? I mean, there's definitely times when if you're refactoring your code, you might have to refactor the test. But I do get his point. Like his point is like if your tests are fairly well written so that they're testing the output of your system, the test shouldn't care too much about the what goes on between the input and the output. You should never feel like you're spending too much time writing your test. It is an investment. The business people, though, have a different feeling about this. They want to know if the thing is going to ship, not if you feel good about the investment you made into tests. There's a contention. There's definitely a contention between these two things, right? There's the contention between the craftsmanship of software and the people who want to sell that software and make money. I'm now exploring integration tests that basically test the whole thing. Yeah. I think you need all. I think the best diagram for testing is the diamond. I think it used to be the pyramid before integration tests got so easy to write. But I think a diamond is the best representation for the testing. People used to say, well, it should be a diamond, right, or a triangle, right? Lots of unit tests, a few integration tests, and then a very minimal amount of end-to-end tests. But I'm kind of the belief now integration tests are so easy to write in a lot of these languages and frameworks that you should probably have a few unit tests, right, that test like core business logic, core business rules, mission critical things, then have a good chunk of end-to-end, and then a lot of your tests should probably live in here, right, where they're testing multiple, like what people would consider units. But it's kind of the whole language around this, like integration versus unit versus end-to-end, a lot of that's just semantics. It's like, what is a unit? I don't fucking know, right? Raphael, teach me senpai. Yeah, the integration tests are great, especially like in C# code. That's most C# code bases out there are sort of these in-tier systems where you have sort of like the data access layer, right? And then you have like the service layer where a lot of the business logic and business rules live, and then you have some sort of front end or application layer. And to me, you could probably write most things as like integration tests between the service and the data access layer now that you have things like test containers that make it really easy to spin up an actual database. You don't really need to mock out that data access layer too much anymore, in my opinion. Assuming you can run Docker in CI/CD, What do I know, though? Integration and unit tests. Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of semantics there between integration and unit. It's like where are you going to draw that line? And then everybody kind of draws it differently. Sorry, my wife sent me a text. Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. You shouldn't care about those things. SQL, Redis, yeah, those should be sort of abstracted in my opinion. I mean, you definitely want to test those implementations. Like if you have some sort of generic data access like interfaces this is defined and you go and implement a Mongo version and a SQL version, you definitely probably want to have tests that cover those implementations, you know? But you don't need to mock out the database. Just talk to a real SQL database. Just talk to a real Mongo database. Just spin it up in Docker and test container and actually test it actually talking to a database. In my opinion, right? All right, now we're going to learn to read from files. So this is actually super important for admin of code because almost all your puzzle inputs are text files. So I'm so glad we got through that math lesson. That math lesson was so painful. Reading files. It could have also been kind of painful because I was impatient to get through it. Sometimes you just test your endpoint with a test database and that's it. Sometimes that's cheap. Yeah, 100%. Especially like, I know like in minimal APIs, with the web application factory in C#, I can spin up, and if I have test containers and I have the web application factory and I'm building a minimal API, like you can basically just spin up your whole thing in memory, connect the thing running in memory to an actual database running in Docker, and you can just make HTTP requests against the whole thing, right? So at that point, integration tests are like super cheap. They test everything. And then you only really need to add unit tests where you need to test like really granular scenarios, maybe. But yeah, I think C Sharp's testing stories for API is really, really good. The mock service worker package in the JavaScript world is really good too for doing type stuff like that. And I think test containers has a, yeah, I've used it. They have a JavaScript implementation. Test containers is just such a good tool. I'm so glad it exists. Docs. Yeah, they have a Node.js one, which I mean you could probably use in Dino or Bun or whatever your runtime of choice is. They have a lot of bindings: Java, Go, .NET. I've only used Node and .NET, so I guess I'll get a chance to use Go at some point now. But such a good tool. Containers in general, right? It's just like what a wonderful piece of technology. Make a VirtualBox can function in a similar way. Yeah, but can you create a VirtualBox programmatically in your test code though? Because that's what test containers gives you. Test containers, like you have this programmatic API in your language of choice where you can literally like start the container, stop the container, get the connection string for the container, or get the port that the contain. You know what I mean? Like you can. I don't know if you can do that with VirtualBox, but that's why test containers is so cool. Where am I trying to go to? CD, what was the directory I called it? Reading files. There you go. Go mod init example.com reading files. All right. In this chapter, we're going to learn how to read some files, get some data out of them, and do something useful. This is really important for admin of code success. So we should be patient and make sure we really understand how to do this. Test containers are really cool. Yeah, they are. I'm a big fan. Big fan over here. Pretend you're working with your friend to create some blog software. The idea is an author will write their post in Markdown with some metadata at the top of the file. On startup, the web server will read a folder to create some posts, and then a separate new handler function will use those posts as a data source for the blog's web server. We've been asked to create the package that converts a given folder of blog post files into a collection of posts. Wonderful. So we have a hello world MD file, and we expect to take all of this and parse it to this struct. Now let's set this up real quick. So should we just, I guess I'll just put this in the root, hello world.md. Yeah. Steven drinking something that's not coffee. Damn. Yeah, you gotta stay hydrated, man. I mentioned earlier, I think my youngest might have had the flu last week, and it looks like my oldest might have the flu this week. I'm gonna take the oldest, I think, to the doctor today. But I'm gonna try to avoid getting it. So hydration is key. I mean, I do have coffee. I'm actually using my Ember mug today. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these mugs. They're Bluetooth and they keep your beverage warm. The brand's called Ember. It's pretty awesome. My mother-in-law, my wife's mom, got this for me 2 Christmases ago, maybe 3 Christmases ago now. Probably one of the best Christmas gifts I've gotten ever, all time. Hope they get well. Yeah, me too, man. I mean, this time of year here in the States is just, this is flu season, you know, it's kicking off. All the, especially at school, like, you wouldn't believe the way kids are at school. Like, kindergartners, like, they will literally get this close to each other while they're talking and then cough in each other's faces. Kids just have no concept of, like, especially little kids. My kids are old enough now where they kind of do, but just kids have no concept of, like, personal space and hygiene, and so the germs, like the sicknesses and stuff, it just runs rampant through the schools. There's nothing you can do about it. I like getting up to go to the microwave to heat my coffee. No, this is okay. This was me. That was me, Renee. That was me. I okay. Ember does not sponsor me, but guys, if I could convince you to buy one of these, they're a little expensive. There's like $100 mug, but it's the last mug you'll ever buy. It's so good. It's so good. I'll put it in the chat. It's so good. And they got different colors, so you know, I know how developers are. You guys can make it your own, you know. You can pick the aesthetic you want. So good. So $200. But come on, just hear me out. It's like, it's so good. You'll love it. You'll love it. What is this website? Ember.com. Just give it a try. Just come on. Ember.com. It's so good. Microwave next to the computer. I'm actually thinking of in December, since I bought that coffee Advent of Code calendar, I'm thinking I'm going to set up a table back here so I can brew the coffee here, and then we can do the puzzle. So we'll make our daily pour over of whatever our specialty coffee is for that day, and then we'll come over here and do Advent of Code. Renee, it's like Fluffy. He just promos until he sees who gives him a free gift card. Okay, well, if you do go over there and buy one, just tell them that I sent you, and maybe they'll come over and sponsor the stream. Yeah, actually, I think I shared this with you guys, right? The Advent of Code, or Advent of Coffee, Advent calendar. Yeah, this thing. I think I told you guys about this. So this is a brand. This is a coffee brand that started in Northwest Arkansas, I think, but they've gotten really big, and they make an Advent calendar, and so they send you a box, and it basically has a specialty coffee in it for every day of Advent. And so I'm gonna pair that with Advent of Code. I'm very excited about it. It's gonna be the most nerdy December of my life. You definitely need a background. I recommend Nixie Tube Clock. People would watch just for that. Nixie. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna search that one up off screen really quick just to make sure you're not pulling one over on me, Boris. Nixie Tube Clock. Oh, that is very cool. Is this what you're talking about? Man, I'd buy one of these just to keep it on my desk. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I don't really have much of a background. Maybe put up some shelves with a clock. That might be cool. How do you guys know about all this cool stuff? Why don't I know about any of this stuff? Renee, I love coffee too. It's so good, man. Yeah, coffee's so good. And it's become the problem with coffee for me is largely is it's become so integrated into all my other habits. I imagine it's a lot of like what smokers deal with, smokers like everything they do there's a cigarette involved. And so for me it's the same thing with coffee. Going for a walk, I'm going to take a coffee with me. A neon sign. Yeah, a neon sign might be cool, but I think the clock looks even cooler. I still gotta hang up these pictures and stuff. I haven't hung up anything in my office yet since we moved in, and we've already been here 2 months. So I need to get on that. I allow advertising on my YouTube. That way I get introduced to new products. I do. Yeah, I've got ads on too on my YouTube. Yeah, I don't have YouTube Premium. Yeah, advertising is cool that way. I mean, I feel like I prefer to kind of get introduced to new products by people who have already used the products. Like I don't care for being kind of spammed with ads, but I definitely fuck with brands who work with people that I like and people work with brands that they like. I think it's a much better way to advertise to an audience. Do you have a stud finder? Where's this going? I do not have a stud finder. I usually just borrow my a family member's. We have a family member who lives closer to me, and they've owned a house for a long time, so he has all the tools that I don't have as a non-homeowner. I mean, don't stream, but I have 9 displays, a neon leaf light panel, and an RGB LED strip. Well, what do you use all that for? Just for ambiance? Because compared to that, my light game is weak. All right, let's try to get through reading a file. We got 30 minutes. Let's see how far we can make it. We'll take an iterative approach where we're always taking simple, safe steps toward our goal. This requires us to break up our work, but we should be careful not to fall into the trap of taking a bottom-up approach. We should not trust our overactive imaginations when we start work. We could be tempted into making some kind of abstraction that is only validated once we stick everything together, such as some kind of blog post file parser. Yeah, this is not iterative, but I've definitely done this before. And is missing out on the tight feedback loops that TDD is supposed to bring us. Optimism is an occupational hazard of programming. Feedback is the treatment. Instead, our approach should... I always wonder, like, what does Kent Beck do now? Do you think he just, like, kicks back and enjoys his royalties from his book? Or, like, do you think that this guy still works in programs? He's older, isn't he? He's 1961, so he'd be... Shit, he'd be in, like, his 60s now, wouldn't he? Yeah, 63, 64. So what does he do now? He lives in San Francisco, California. Oh, he worked at Facebook? What? In 2019, Beck joined Gusto as a software fellow and coach, where he coaches engineering teams as they build out payroll systems for small businesses. Interesting. So he's still working. I don't hear from him a lot though. Like I don't see him on the YouTubes. I don't see him on it doesn't seem like he speaks much at conferences or anything. I did not know he worked at Facebook. I did know he worked with Eric Gamma. I think Eric Gamma might be one of my favorite people in the software industry. Like whenever I hear him talk in interviews and stuff, I always think, man, I want to be like this guy when I grow up. All right, that was a sidetrack. Hold on. I think I just ruined my spot, didn't I? Damn it. What does John Carmack do now? I hear he works on his Ferraris for fun. Doesn't he work for... Doesn't he do something with Lucky Palmer? Or wasn't he working with Lucky Palmer at one point? Fun fact, Shawnee Mission, Kansas, John Carmack's hometown, is not far from me. It's like an hour drive from where I live. It's here in Kansas City. It's a suburb of Kansas City, which is pretty cool. I mean, not every, like, Silicon Valley gets all the credit. Like the coasts always get all the credit for the high tech stuff, but John Carmack came from the Midwest. He left Oculus to work on his AG. Oh, he's running an AGI startup. Wonderful. But I guess if you had to have people working in AGI, that he'd probably be one of them. Yeah. So what do they do? Keen Technologies is John Carmack's AGI startup. So what do they do? I don't understand. There's no information on this. Huh. Fair enough. I want to move to the Midwest, but my mom wants me to stay down south. There's nothing wrong with the South. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Midwest, the South, the North. You know what I mean? It's the coast that always shit on the other people. We don't shit on those. You know what I mean? Midwest people are pretty nice. Southern people are pretty nice. You know, even the guys up north, the crazy people that live in the cold. You know, they're nice. I just think it's mean that the coastal cities refer to us as the flyover. You know, the flyover place. But we produce good people. Actually, another pretty famous person in the tech industry is from Kansas City. One of the founders of Dropbox is from Kansas City. Co-founder of Dropbox. I think he went to a school in Blue Valley. This guy. Aresh Ferdozi. He's from here. Okay, instead our approach should strive to be as close to delivering real consumer value as quickly as possible. Once we have delivered a small amount of consumer value end to end, further iteration of the rest of the requirements is usually straightforward. Thinking about the kind of tests we want to see. Let's remind ourselves of our mindset and goals when starting. Write the test we want to see. Think about how we'd like to use the code we're going to write from a consumer's point of view. Focus on what and why, but don't get distracted by how. So our package needs to offer a function that can be pointed at a folder and return us some posts. So this is like programming through wishful thinking, right? So this is what we'd ideally have at the end of the day. To write a test around this, we need some kind of test folder with some example posts in it. You know, it's funny, I started this whole exercise to learn Go, but I honestly am so happy that I wrote this, or that I've read this book now, because there's so much good stuff in it that's just like how to be a better developer, which I just love. It's a really awesome side effect of reading this book. There's nothing terribly wrong with this, but you are making some trade-offs. For each test, you may need to create new files to test a particular behavior. Some behavior will be challenging to test, such as failing to load files. Yeah. The test will run a little slower because they will need to access the file system. We're also unnecessarily coupling ourselves to a specific implementation of the file system. Oh, but there's abstractions, nice, that come baked in. This is something C# does not have. C# does not have abstractions for the file APIs. That's a separate package that you have to bring in. Let's see. FS defines basic interfaces to a file system. A file system can be provided by the host operating system, but also by other packages. This lets us loosen our coupling to a specific file system, which will then let us inject different implementations across our needs. Which isn't to say that C# doesn't abstract the file system, because it does. Like, you don't need to necessarily care what OS you're working on or what OS your app's going to run on, but you can't. The file APIs can't be like mocked out very easily out of the box, right? You have to get that from another package. If we use this interface, users of our package have a number of options baked into the standard library to use. Learning to leverage interfaces defined in Go's standard library is vital to writing loosely coupled packages. Those packages can then be reused in contexts different to those you imagined with minimal fuss from your consumers. In our case, maybe our consumer wants the post to be embedded into the Go binary rather than files in a real file system. Either way, our code doesn't need to care. For our tests, the package testing FS test offers us an implementation of IOFS to use, similar to the tools we're familiar with in net HTTP test. Oh, okay, so I think I misunderstood then what he said up here. So IOFS is basically the equivalent of what the file APIs are in C#. It's just, it abstracts the host, what type of file system you're working with. But you still have to bring in a separate package to like mock it out. Okay, given this information, the following feels like a better approach. Blog post dot new post from FS, and then you pass in some FS, where FS here stands for file system. So write the first test. We should keep scope as small and useful as possible. If we prove that we can read all the files in a directory, that will be a good start. This will give us confidence in the software we're writing. We can check that the count of posts returned is the same number of files in our fake file system. So create a new project to work through this chapter. Okay, whoops. I should have waited to then do my thing until we got here. So we're going to delete this. And what are we going to call this? We're going to call this blog posts. Yeah. I think I broke NeoVim by deleting that. There we go. So we're going to say blog. Oh my gosh. Can I remember? Blog posts. Blog posts. Okay. And then we're going to cd into the blog post, and we're going to go mod init github.com/StephenFreeborn/blog post. Hey, what's up, Sam? Good to see you, friend. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. Surely it's painful with such a small terminal and browser window for the stream. LOL. Oh, for sure it is, man. For sure it is. It's for sure. But like this stream, so far I've gotten 3,000 views and counting. And I horizontally streamed yesterday for the .NET Conf watch party. And I had 70 views, I think. Like I had like 4 viewers. So it's just there's just no reason to stream horizontally on YouTube unless you already have like a really sizable following, which I don't. I my channel's only growing because people are discovering me through the shorts feed, you know? So I'm just gonna keep doing the vertical thing until YouTube says send us your stream and we will allow you to format it vertically and horizontally, and we'll take care of that for you. I'm just going to keep doing vertically, but I won't lie, it is painful to work in such a small area. It's I definitely notice a huge boost in my productivity when I'm streaming off stream. Because because I have a lot more screen real estate to work with. Let's see, github.com, Stephen Freeborn blog post. github.com/Stephen Freeborn/blog post. Or not go mod tidy. I want go mod init, right? And then go mod tidy. And then we'll make our tests. So we'll say blog. George, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate it. All right. Now we can stick some tests in here. For most of it. Hold on, what's going on? Boris, just get a good background. You have the space. Yeah, I need to get a better background, don't I? For sure. I was there on the. Yes, Pablo, you were there. I wanted to watch, but I had work. Yeah, no worries, man. I get it. Yeah, we're all busy during the day, Raphael. No big deal. Your channel growth is soaring. You'll be 10K by the end of the year potentially. Yeah, I don't honestly know where I'll be by the end of the year. I could be back to 20 subs and it would still be okay with me, but 10K seems like impossible in my mind. It seems like it would never get there. But going back to your question about the horizontal stream versus vertical, it's like, yes, I would much rather be able to maintain the same viewership and discoverability that I get from the shorts and just do it vertically or horizontally. It would be a much better experience for me personally doing it. But then it's like, well, then I'm talking to no one and engaging with no one, you know? So it's like a catch-22. I'm not going to fight the algorithm. How many of us were there when you were doing the LLM stuff? About the same. Yeah. It's been pretty consistent, I think. I think obviously anything LLM or AI probably gets a little bit of boost in the algorithm. Okay, blog post is undefined. Well, there we go. We need to fix that. Notice that the package of our test is blog post _test. Remember, when TDD is practiced, well, we take a consumer-driven approach. We don't want to test internal details because the consumers don't care about them. By appending _test to our intended package name, we only access exported members from our package, just like a real user of our package. That's something I haven't been practicing in past lessons. We've imported testing /fs test, which gives us access to the fstest.mapfs type. Our fake file system will pass fstest.mapfs to our package. A mapfs is a simple in-memory file system for use in tests, represented as a map from path names to information about the files or directories they represent. Okay. This feels simpler than maintaining a folder of test files, and it will execute quicker. Finally, we codify the usage of our API from a consumer's point of view, then checked if it creates the correct number of posts. So this is our path. And this is the data we expect to get, which is, we're just saying it's an array of bytes. And then we're just checking to see if we get 2 back. Okay, I understand. I want to understand this well so that I understand how to do this whenever we go to, how you're supposed to read files whenever we go to do advent of code. Yeah, AI videos pop off. Yeah, I think it's just like people are interested in it. You know, there's a lot of questions and people are confused as equally as probably all of us are confused, and so they're looking for content around that stuff. Like ASAP on the background because people are visual creatures. Something needs to catch the eye. That's a good idea, Boris. Yeah, I don't know though how much money I want to invest in a YouTube setup. You know. Maybe I can look around my house and see if there's any extra stuff I can bring to make the background pop a little bit. Pablo, making a nice community. I'm trying to. And as Boris said, I'm trying to make it a cozy community. The package doesn't exist. Create a new file, blogpost.go, and put package blog post inside it. You'll need to then import that package into your test. For me, the imports now look like this. Now the test won't compile because our new package does not have a new post from fs function that returns some kind of a collection. So what path do I specify here? I guess I specify the path that I have. So I guess I do this blog posts, or hold on, I gotta go over here and say github.com/Stephen Freeborn /blog posts. Or is this the path locally on my machine? Create a new file, blogpost.go, and put package blog post inside of it. Blogpost.go, blog post. Okay, so then how do I resolve? Oh, no, that works. Okay, yeah, that worked. Okay. Or I think it worked. And this works because that's what I named my package, right? Is that right, guys? Because I put the module name here. That's why it works. And now I just don't have the function. Yeah, I just don't have the function now. Yep. Thanks, Pablo. I appreciate you. It's like an alias. It's oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So it's almost like in JavaScript where you can import like star as some name. No, it's the repo path, or I guess the package name. That's the path to your repo plus package. Just hangs. Hold on. What did Boris say about my background? Just hang some pictures, put a couple mugs behind you on a shelf, maybe a plant, and LED strip. I like it. I guess I have some shopping to do on Amazon. Boris made me a list. I appreciate it, Boris. It's nice that you guys care. I appreciate that. Let's see. Arush Patel in this chat wants to chip in and send him a Nixie watch and the IKEA donut light, a gift from day one viewers before he blows up. No one needs to send me gifts. No one needs to spend any of their money on me, you know? This is just for fun, you know? You guys work hard for your money, you should keep it. But I like the shopping list Boris laid out for me. I like it. Now I just need to go do it. All right, now we need to define this function, right? I'm guessing that's what he's going to have us do next. I really want to learn TS. It seems like a very important language. I think, I don't know about important, right? Like that's obviously debatable, but I really like TypeScript. It's definitely, I think I've said this to you guys before, like if you force me to say you have to pick a language, you can never write another one for the rest of your life, I would pick TypeScript myself. Even though I love C#, I like doing web development, and you can't you can't really use C# natively in the browser with without a bunch of external dependencies. So that's what I would pick. That way I could still build things on the back end, and then I could very easily also build things on the front end. Because it compiles to JavaScript, and JavaScript always wins in the browser. At least for now. This is like a path on where to find your package to install it, but in your case you don't need to because it's local, so it's just an alias for consistency. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's where the whole package system, I still probably need to spend more time, like I need to spend some time building projects and like figuring out the whole package system. How do you organize packages in a project? I need to spend more time doing that for sure. Copy. So now we will do this. Although I wonder why he's having us use this directly. You would think there'd be some abstraction we'd want to use here, not the actual FS test, but maybe that's where we're headed. What is the error here? At least one file in a package should what? At least one file in a package should have a package comment. So what is a package comment in Go? Package comment in Go. Is this like a module docstring in Python? Okay, so everything should have something like this. This package allows reading blog posts from a file system. Does that satisfy the rule? Now it's angry at me again. Package comment should be of the form package blog posts. Oh. Wow, that's crazy that someone's gone through all the work to enforce that. Package blog post allows reading blog posts from a file system. I think that sounds good. Where was I? I was here. We got about 7 minutes. Where are we going to get to here today? Okay, write enough code to make it pass. So we're just going to return an array or a slice of posts. So we're going to say we have a slice of post. Go test. And that's going to fail because there's nothing in my array. I need to say an empty post and an empty post. Go test. Do I miss semicolons? I do miss semicolons, Pablo. You have no idea. I miss semicolons and I miss brackets. I do miss them, and you can type them right in Go. Like you could technically add semicolons, couldn't you? And it would still work. Oh no, it removes them. Whenever I format the code, it strips them. But yeah, I do miss them. They make me feel safe. It's like wearing a cozy, it's like wearing a cozy hoodie. Pablo, the linter will hate it. Yeah, the linter hates it so much it prevents me from doing it. Or the formatter or whatever. I actually think it's the Go language server that's doing all that. I could be wrong, but I think it's the Go language server that's forcing my code to look a certain way. Boris, I love semicolons. Yeah. So we need to get some merch going on here, right? That's like I heart semicolons. Boris, sorry, I missed a couple messages. Pretty sure they're created by the same guy. Yeah, Harsh. C# and TypeScript are. Yeah, Anders Halsberg, I think is the guy that you're thinking of. He was actually, what's kind of cool about Anders is like, for somebody who is such a he's basic. I think he's a technical fellow at Microsoft. For somebody that's accomplished so much and done so much, it was cool to see him come on the Syntax FM podcast, like, to kind of come down to where us mere mortals hang out and share his thoughts on the rewrite of the TypeScript compiler and everything. I thought that was really cool. You don't see a lot of those like larger than life characters from that type of place, come and interact with kind of the younger, newer generation. So that was cool to see. The LSP probably runs Go format and Go lint. There you go. That's probably what's doing it then. Go syntax confuses me so much. It is. I mean, this seems wrong to me. Saying array of posts. In my language, I want to say post of array. Like I want to do it like this, but this is how they declare it. Pablo, I heart semicolons. Yeah, brackets. Anders is it seems like a nice human being. I mean, obviously I've only experienced him digitally, but he seems like a decent human being, and obviously a very smart computer scientist. Oh, we need to make sure it passes. Go test. Now it should pass. Wonderful. See, but as Denishi wrote, slimming is useful for giving a skeleton to your object. Designing an interface and executing logic are two concerns, and slimming tests strategically lets you focus on one at a time. So we already have our structure. So what do we do instead? As we've cut scope, all we need to do is read the directory and create a post for each file we encounter. We don't have to worry about opening files and parsing them just yet. So we say fs read dir. We pass in our file system. And then we start at the root, I guess, our current. I guess we start in the current directory, which I guess is whatever directory the Go process is running in. We create a new post. Yeah, we create a new slice of posts. Then we range over the directory. So the directory must be something we can iterate over. And then for each post, we're going to append an empty post for each of those. And then return it. fsReadDir reads a directory inside a given fs.fs, returning a slice of directory entries. Okay. So those are all types that are defined in, it looks like, the standard lib in IOFS. Already, our idealized view of the world has been foiled because errors can happen. Oh, fuck. Why can't everything just work? Why do we have to worry about things not working? But remember, now our focus is on making the test pass, not changing design. We'll ignore the error for now. The rest of the code is straightforward. Iterate over the entries, create a post for each one, and return the slice. Okay. We don't have FS, so let's import it. Now, I don't know how I feel about this, though. I'm hoping he's going to do something to remove this thing. Because I'm guessing we're going to need to pass in the directory we want to read at some point. So we'll say go test. And it still passes. Wonderful. We're iterating, people. You are ignoring what the file is you just create. Yeah, we're just arbitrarily. Pablo agreed, not testable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's but I'm guessing he's leading us, right? He's leading us. Pablo, I love the name of that builder class. I mean, seems totally readable. Me, factory builder, constructor, add love, add love interest options resolver. That would be it would be such a good troll to have some asinine, arbitrary, like fluent API builder pattern that like just goes from the top of a t-shirt all the way to the bottom of it. Boris, I mean, at the end of the day, they are regular people. Mark Rusunovich will talk to anyone about tech. I think he would talk to a lamp about malware analysis. Yeah. Well, yeah, they're just people. They're just folk, you know. But sometimes you just put people up on pedestals, right? You don't even do it consciously. It just happens. You admire people and you build them up to be larger than life. Do you have to head out? Yes, I do. Font size is 4. Oh, is it too small? Yeah, I do actually need to probably head upstairs. My oldest son, I think, is staying home from school, so I need to figure out what we're gonna do for the doc. I have to call the doctor's office and see if I can get him in today. See if we can get a flu test or something. His symptoms seem worse than my older. Oh no, oh, you meant for the shirt? Yeah, the font. the font, yeah, font size 4, and it's literally just like new builder dot something dot something dot something dot all the way down. Raphael, I admire. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if if I am admirable or admirable, but I appreciate that. I just try to be a normal dude, you know, a normal dad dude. Although my wife would say there's nothing normal about this guy. He wakes up at 4 a.m. to write code on the internet. You know. But you know, we all have our thing, okay? We all have our thing. Boris, you talked about not really liking recursion. I had Copilot write some sorting algorithms using recursion and iteration. The recursive ones were always about half the size. Yeah, I think recursive always looks more elegant. Like readable. It looks easier to read, but I think it's harder for the other person to understand because you're having to keep track of this ever-growing call stack that eventually hits some sort of base case. So to me, it's like while a non-recursive algorithm looks like, if you're doing like depth first search or breadth first search, a non-recursive implementation to me is easier to follow what we're doing than something that's recursively calling itself. Again, that's just my own personal preference. Do you sleep super early? Well, that's what I was saying earlier in the stream. I've gotten into this habit where if I have an idea, I try to avoid opening my laptop past like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, because if I open my laptop at that late at night, I'll stay up till midnight, and then getting up early is a pain in the ass. So I've been trying to go to bed somewhere between 8 and 10 o'clock the last couple months. Um, Not that I always follow that rule. Like we went to a wedding on Saturday night, and we were out till like 11 o'clock or midnight, so some nights I don't practice what I preach, but I try to get to sleep regardless. Do you wake up really early or just never sleep? No, I just wake up really early. I do sleep, I promise. I do sleep. Half the size and faster, or just half the size? Yeah, I don't know actually what he meant by that. Dude, we're watching you write code at 4 a.m. What does that say about us? I don't know. I guess we're all weird. It just says we're all weird. Hey, what's up, Artwork Studios? Forgot you stream about now. That's all right, man. No worries. We all got lives, lots of stuff going on. I actually have to dip out. I need to get upstairs and check in with the family and get things organized for the day, because I think my youngest is staying home. My wife's gonna go to work. I'm already off today because I was on PTO anyway, so I'm gonna try to make a doctor's appointment and sort all that out. So Maxim, I think Maxim Max. Thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate you. Tomorrow I'd be able to join earlier there. Yeah, man, we'll be here. We'll be here. I'm gonna. I mean, most days I should be here every day, because there's just not really a good excuse not to be here. You know, like at 4:15 in the morning, no one is awake in my house. The world is asleep for the most part, so there's no real good excuse for me to miss, unless something crazy comes up. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna start the wrap up. All right, so if you want to interact with me or any of these awesome folks in the chat, the best place to kind of find us away from the stream is Discord, which Stream Elements has been sharing that link in the chat, but I'll put it in there one more time. And then schedule-wise, if you're new here and you're like, hey, I want to kind of know when I should be on the lookout for you, I typically stream most days from 4:15 a.m. to 7 a.m. and that's Central Standard Time. So super early in the morning, Midwest in the United States. And then on the weekends, like Saturday and Sunday, typically I might go a little later, just depending on what's going on in the house. Like I might stream till 8 o'clock or 8:30, just depending on what's going on. As far as content-wise, I'm mostly a C# and TypeScript person. That's typically what I like to do. I like to do stuff on the web mostly when it comes to applications. We're kind of taking a detour right now into the Goland, and we're probably going to be in Goland for a little while. We're going to do November is kind of learning Go and building with Go, and then December is going to be doing Advent of Code with Go. So that's kind of what you can expect from the stream content. Is there anything else? I think that's it. .NET Conf is still going on, so if you're interested in C# and .NET, check out their stream, and they'll have more today. I don't think I'm going to do a watch party today just because my son's home sick. Yeah, I think that wraps us. So, Artwork Studios, have a good day. Raphael, have a good day. Sam, what time do you go to bed? Usually between 8 and 10, usually. See you, Pablo. Thanks for hanging out. Are you feeling prepared for AOC? I am feeling prepared for AOC. I'll feel better once we solve a couple old AOC problems, and once I work through some of those things, I'll feel more confident. But I'm feeling like I can get this done at least one day. Like I feel like I can at least solve a single puzzle, right? So it'll be fun. All right, Artwork Studios. See ya. Bye, Boris. Bye, Pablo. Bye, Sam. Bye, Raphael. Anybody else that's hanging around in chat, appreciate you. Thanks for sticking with us. And I'll be here tomorrow. All right. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday. If it's already Thursday for you, have a great rest of your Thursday. And I'll see you guys around. Bye, chat. Bye, Veds Improvin. Bye, Harsh. See you guys. Have a good day. Thanks, Pablo. That's super kind. Yeah, he'll be all right. We'll make sure and take care of him. All right. Bye, chat. Bye. See you guys.